Hey there, folks. I'm making this kind of a special video. Several of you have asked about the science inquiry papers, and I know that's something new and it's kind of weird. So I wanted to kind of make a little video, kind of walk you through that process. Normally, I would have done this in class and would have had samples and stuff and let you see them, and so it's a lot easier. But I'm going to try to walk you through what it would be to do these science inquiry papers. So let me explain to you what. Kind of what the idea was. So, uh, one of the things I wanted you to do was to kind of get out of the textbook, and I want you to start looking at science kind of on your own. So, textbooks are great; they've got a lot of information, but they're printed. This one here was probably printed, 10 years ago. And so, one thing about science is it doesn't hang around for 10 years. It changes, and all kinds of things are new. So I wanted you to get out of the textbook, and I wanted you to find some new stuff, some new science, and kind of get in the habit of looking and reading some science. I know a lot of you are sports people, some of you are music people, so I know I don't have a huge number of science people. Although looking at your videos, I know some of you uh, are kind of science geeks too. That's good. But I want everybody to kind of get in the habit of uh, looking at science, look at what's new, kind of be aware of kind of what's coming down the pike, because science obviously leads to innovation, leads to technology, and technology are the things that we kind of put our fingers on. For example, computers. Everything in a computer, this camera, all this stuff started out as a science experiment. Started out as just someone tinkering and asking a question and creating something scientific, and then someone took that information and turned it into something like a computer or some other piece of technology. So I want you to get in the habit of reading some science. So the paper itself is pretty easy. You get online. If you want to read an article online, you can do that. I'm going to walk you through one online. There's all kinds of great shows. I mean, if you're a Netflix person, you can get on the documentary shows and find some stuff on there. You could do one on that. You could do a magazine. If you subscribe to a magazine that might have some science news in it. I'd like for it to be kind of earth science related. So I'd like for it to be earth, space, volcanoes, earthquakes, weather, climate, that sort of thing. So not so much animals and living things. However, if that's what you're into and that's the only thing that you can read, then I'll take whatever I can get. But I don't want you to focus first on some of the earth science stuff. All right. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just kind of minimize the screen here and walk you through what I've got here. So here's a good place to start. This is called sciencenews.org. It's an online science journal. You don't have to be a membership. Some of them you have to pay to get stuff. You can join this and all sorts of things, but you don't have to. But this is a great place to start. So it starts out with just the front page here with some stories. Here's one about HIV. Here's another one we can learn about. Um, there's one here on health and medicine. Now, this is a good one. This is from the earth science section. Carbon dioxide from Earth's mantle may trigger some Italian earthquakes. Um, so that's pretty interesting. We're going to talk about earthquakes in a little bit, and we kind of talk about how they are, what causes earthquakes, but this is kind of new. Carbon dioxide is a gas released by the mantle, can be released through the mantle, and now they're thinking that it may actually cause some earthquakes in Italy. So, well, the first thing you do, if that's interesting, I mean, maybe you're Italian, maybe you're going to go visit Italy, maybe you're into carbon dioxide, I don't know, but let's say this is one we're interested in. We just click on it, and it will pop up the article along with some pictures and things. Now, pay attention to this username up here because uh, this where you got the article, because you're going to need that in your paper. So don't lose that. So anyway, here's the article talking about in the Apennines region, which is the northern part of Italy, southern part of France. Spikes in natural CO2 emissions coincide with the biggest tremors. So as we get down here, we were going to read the article, and there's the article. Um, and again, if you're reading this article and there's things in there that you don't understand or you have questions about, make a note of them, because in your paper you're going to be asked for 3 questions. Let's say you were reading this and you didn't know what CO2 was. And you one of your questions was, well, is CO2 a gas or CO2 a liquid? That might be one of your questions. So you could use that in your paper. Now, on your 3 questions in the paper, you don't have to answer them. They're just questions that you have as you're reading the article. All right. So what I suggest is you read the article, and as questions pop in your head, write them down. So when you get ready to write your paper, you'll have the questions ready to go. You won't have to go back to the article and go, oh gosh, I got to find 3 questions and kind of go through the article again. So as you're reading the article, kind of have a piece of paper with you and a pencil or something to take notes with. And when you get a question, when a question pops up, for example, here's one right here, the Velino Aquifer. You might ask the question, well, what's an aquifer? Well, that's a good question. And we're going to talk about aquifers in a few weeks. But you might ask the question now, what's an aquifer? And you don't have to answer. I mean, if you want to go look it up, fine, but you don't have to answer it in your paper. All right. I just want questions at the end of your paper. And we'll talk about that more when we get to the paper. So there's the article. As you can see, it's not super long. It probably would take you, I don't know, 5 minutes to read that, right? There's lots of little places where you can jump off and look at some other stuff. So if you really get into it, it might take 10 or 15 minutes. But see, it's not a very big article. It's not very bad. And that's all I want. I don't want you to have to read a book for this. Just read an article that's a few minutes, takes you a few minutes to read it. So there's our article. We're going to do that. So let's go see, how do we write the paper? Well, I supplied you with this document. This document is in resources, and it says how to write a scientific inquiry paper. So if you read through that, it should help you. And it's the wrong date. Sorry, I'll change it. It's the wrong date if that's what I put in your resources. But anyway, but here's how I want you to write the paper. So you've read the article, you've taken some notes and some questions, and now you're ready to write the paper. So the first thing you do is you do the header. So this is what I call the header. This is the header of your paper. You put your name up there. You put your class. This is 102, or this is SCI 102 at Simmons College. Credit the chapter number. So that was about earthquakes. So look up what chapter number is earthquakes. And I think it's chapter 8, maybe. If it's chapter 8, then you would put down chapter 8. That way, when I get your paper, I can give you credit for doing this paper for chapter 8. Now, here's the title of the article. So the title of the article is Carbon Dioxide from Earth's Mantle May Trigger Some Italian Earthquakes. There's your title. Okay. Then it says source of article. So source, that's where I told you there's the source of the article right there. You just copy and paste that right into your paper. ScienceNews.org/article/carbon dioxide Earth Mantle Italy earthquakes. And you just put that right in your paper, and that's your header. That's all you got to do for your header. Now, the first thing you do is you're going to write a summary, and everybody knows what a summary is, right? It says ask for a 2 to 4 paragraph summary of the article. Now, you're not going to copy the article necessarily, but you're just going to kind of write a summary. And the way I explain summaries is I say, if you went and saw a movie, right, and the movie's 2 hours long, and you went to your friend and were telling them about the movie, it wouldn't take you 2 hours to tell them about the movie, would it? You would do a summary, and it might take 4 or 5 minutes. So that's what a summary is. It's just the high points, kind of walk through the paragraphs. As you notice in this article, it's kind of broken up into sections. So there's a section there. So you might just have a sentence or two about that section, what that means. And then here's another section, here's another section, there's another section, there's another section, another section. So all you got to do is kind of take those sections and maybe write a sentence or two about what that sentence was about or what was going on. And that would be your summary. That would end up being your summary. Just make sure the punctuation is correct, and if you do actually quote something from the article, like maybe something a scientist said or something, make sure you put it in quotations and you cite it. Then the next section there. So after you've written that, that probably takes up, oh, I don't know, with your header, that probably takes up half a page. So with your next section here, you're going to write a reaction. Okay. Now the reaction is just one or two paragraphs on kind of your impression and what you think about the article. I mean, you must have picked it because you were interested in maybe earthquakes, so talk about earthquakes. You may have picked it because you've got some family that lives in Italy, and so you might talk about it in relationship to your family. You might talk about it in relationship to carbon dioxide and the fact that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. And with the Earth releasing more carbon dioxide, maybe that's going to affect other things besides earthquakes. It may also affect climate change. So there's all kinds of stuff you can talk about in the reaction. It's not, you're not talking about the article now specifically, you're talking about how the article affects you. Maybe you want to talk about how it might affect you in the future. What if this starts happening in the United States? Could it happen in the United States? That sort of thing. So the reaction is, again, how it affects you and what the article is about in terms of you. Okay? Whoops, sorry about that. So let's go on down to the next section here, vocabulary. So in the vocabulary section, I want you to find 3 words in the article that you don't know, that you're not familiar with. I want you to research them, look them up, find out what they mean, and then write down the word and write down the definition. Okay, so you should have 3 words with 3 definitions. So let's go to the paper again. And like I said, there was that word aquifer. Maybe you don't know what an aquifer is. So you might write down aquifer and look it up, and that could be one of your your vocabulary words, right? Let's say I don't know. There's you got to look through here and just a word that you're just not really sure. Maybe seismic. You may not know what the word seismic means. You can write that down and look that up. Let's see, I'm going through here and see if there's any other words. Again, if you can't find a lot of words you don't know, maybe the article is too easy for you. Okay, but here's a word here, precursor. Maybe you don't know what the word precursor means. Maybe you don't know, let's see, incite. Maybe you don't know what the word incite means. Most of you probably do, but maybe some of you don't. Don't be embarrassed if you don't know a word. I mean, don't be worried about that. So anyway, find 3 words in there that you don't know, write them down in your paper, look them up, and write down the definition. Okay. The final section in your paper are those questions that I talked to you about. So as you read the article, you wrote down 3 questions, and now all you got to do is put those 3 questions in the article. Again, you don't have to look up the answers. You don't have to answer them. They're just 3 questions that popped in your head that maybe you didn't know the answer to, and they're just questions that maybe after you're done with the article, your curiosity gets the best of you and you go look them up. That's fine, but you don't have to write the answers down in the paper. Once you do all that, you're ready to turn that in. You can do this on a Word document and turn it into me that way. You can get on the actual assignment, I think, and you can type all that out actually on the assignment in Canvas, so you don't have to do it on Word document. Then, of course, if you just don't you don't have any of that stuff, or you don't know how to do it, you can write it out on a piece of paper with a pen and pencil and photograph it with your phone and turn it in that way. That's perfectly fine, as long as I can read it. That's all I care about. Now, over the course of the entire class, you're going to do 5 of these. I would strongly suggest you get started on at least one of them right now, because the next little special video I'm going to do is going to be talking about the project, and the project's going to start taking up some of your time. So I want you to get these out of the way and get those review questions done as quickly as you can so that you've got time to work on the project. And before you know it, you're going to be studying for the midterm and studying for the final. So please don't get behind. Let me know if you've got any more questions about this, and I'll be happy to answer them. And if I get a whole bunch of questions, I may have to make another video. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you online.